York's classic rock, Q1043.
And we welcome back to our studio Paul Virzi, the famous comedian, really famous comedian.
Well, I appreciate that.
This Netflix special, it premiered yesterday, and already there's buzz. Already there's a real positive reaction to it. And what's that like for you, waiting for premiere day to arrive?
It's definitely, you try to tell yourself, it's another day, this is what I do, but hearing everybody and listening to everybody and seeing the post, I can't wait to watch tomorrow, can't wait to watch tomorrow, can't wait to watch. I'm like, all right, man, they better like this, even my family members. But it's been surreal, and I'll be honest with you, when I got flooded with amazing response, and it hit home a little bit. They almost got me.
Did you watch it?
That's a great. I watched it so many times in the editing process, and after doing it, that when it came out, I was like, I'll scroll through quick, but I don't really want to see.
You don't like watching yourself.
I'll just judge myself and be like, oh, you look fat, you're sweating, why'd you walk that way? You're dumb, and then so I'm just like, I'll leave it to the other people,
Well, it's called Paul Virzi Nocturnal Admissions, and you've got a pretty powerful crew behind you as well. You've got Pete Davidson directing, and among others, you have your friend Bill Burr as an executive producer, and you co-host a podcast with him.
Yeah, so Bill's somebody I used to open for, and I haven't opened for Bill in years. So we were like, hey, man, I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast. How could we got to stay connected somehow? So we do the podcast, but I just stuck with All Things Comedy for this second special. They did my first one as a production company. They were amazing, and Pete Davidson is just the best, man. Me and Pete have been friends for forever.
Well,
he's the best.
He's been a fan of yours since he was a teenager, right?
Yes. He saw
since
me.
He snuck in with fake ID into Caroline's.
Yeah, he was at Caroline's, and I'm like, is this kid? He was one of those guys where he was like tall and lanky, and I couldn't tell if he had like an age disease. Those people that like you don't know if they're 12 or 50. And he was just sitting there, and I'm going like, who is this kid? And they were like, oh, he's a 16-year-old comic from Staten Island, and we just kind of hit it off. And he's the best, man. Pete is.
And who would have thought he would end up with Kim Kardashian?
Me. Because the thing with Pete is so quiet, calm, and easygoing that he doesn't care. So people are just like, she even I think said something where like he just like didn't go to the after party. Like, who is this guy? Who he's just such a calm, cool, easy dude. But he's really misunderstood. I have a great story about him where it was a rare Saturday night where I was not working. And I was just outside on my deck smoking a cigar, as I do sometimes.
You have to go out on the deck to smoke a cigar?
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, my wife's not having that in the house.
That's a heavy smell.
She's. I love. I love how you're like, what are you doing?
What's the point of having your own house if you have to go outside to get a breath of fresh air?
If you met my wife, you'd know. You would know if you met my wife. There's no that one's non-negotiable. But I wish I could.
Okay,
but
I'm
she's
sorry.
like,
on with the story.
On
with the story, Paul.
No, I love it because he's right. I should say, you know what? Well, now I got a Netflix special, so I'll smoke anywhere I want.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. She'll be like, yeah, you do have a special. Now go outside. No. So I was outside and I was smoking a cigar. I was off and I was just scrolling through my phone. Who am I going to call? I'm going to call a friend and just scrolling through. I was like, oh, let's see what Pete's doing. So I call and Pete answers the phone. And he just goes, hello. And I go, what's going on, man? He goes, I'm just at work. I look at the phone, and I realize it's 11:45 at night. He's on Saturday Night Live. The show's going on, and he answered the phone. And I go, oh, my God, dude, I'm so sorry. I go, what are you answering the phone at work for? And he just goes, I just want to make sure everything is all right. That's who that kid is.
Aww.
That's who that kid is. So he's the best, man. And, I know they're always putting him on page 6 because of whatever's going. Pete Davidson is the absolute best. He's down to earth. I love the kid. And when he said, I want to be a part of this special, he saw some of the material and said, I want to be a part of this. And so it's been amazing. And he's actually filming a movie in some country he's in, and he saw the special last night, and he's going wild for it too. So it's been exciting for everybody.
It's Paul Virzi who's here with us at Q104.3. Now, you're a very successful guy, Paul, and you as a person involved in the world of comedy, get involved in a lot of different styles and forms of writing. And I know that I'm going to ask you kind of a technical question because I know I've had a chance to talk to a lot of songwriters, and many of the songwriters tell me that they never sit down and decide, okay, I'm going to go write a song now. Things pop into their head. They'll be walking down the street, or they'll wake up from a nap, and the genesis of what becomes a song is just there, and then they pursue whatever it is that popped into their head until they have something finished. Now, with comedy, there's so many different types. Like if you're writing, jokes for an award show, you've got to sit down and write jokes. If you're writing a situation comedy, you have to sit down and figure out what the characters would say. So that's a sit down and be funny situation, as opposed to life-based humor, which is what you're famous for in your stand-up, which is more observational. So I'm just wondering how because you do all those different sorts of things.
Yeah, I never sit down and write. Anytime it's ever felt like a job where it's like, okay, Thursday, we're going to open the notebook and for 2 hours, I can't write like that. I'm laying down 1 o'clock in the morning, my mind's going, and all of a sudden something pops up, and then I'm like, all right, I got to put that in the notes in the iPhone, or my wife yells at me or something, we got into some crazy fight, and I'm like, oh, well, that's going in the act tomorrow. Or I'll just go on stage and vent about what's going on, and they call that writing on stage. So I'll be on stage, and something will pop in my mind that happened, and I'll just stop my act and go, my wife is driving me, and I'll just I'll say, this is what and sometimes that's scary because you're like, there's nothing, I don't know where this is going, but there's something about the honesty and the passion of it in that moment that I'm gonna make it funny because it's real, and people will see, and and this instinct comes in where it's like, all right, well, even though you're telling truth, something's got to be funny now. You gotta, But my wife told me, and same thing with the Netflix thing. We were a pandemic. You get forced into doing things, right? Like we were in the pandemic and we were playing cards as a family. We were locked in the house. And my wife just looked me in the face and she said, when this is over, if you don't get a Netflix special, we're getting divorced. So I just locked myself in a room and I made it happen because I don't want to lose my family. So that's the pressure she puts on me. My kids were crying and then we went back to playing cards in silence. But no. In all seriousness, that's a great question because I'm not somebody to write down with structure stuff. But like you said, with an awards or like there's been people where I wrote some roast jokes for Tom Brady. And you got to submit, and then they like a few, and then some are too dark, and then they come back, and then you're doing that. And so that's more of like when it's a job, but that's kind of fun because you're just kind of doing some like zingers and insults. Mm-hmm. So I like doing that. Or like a writing for like if somebody says, I wrote for Seth Meyers when he hosted the ESPYs. And then that's kind of like a fun thing because you just submit and they tell you what they're going to use. But sitting down to write my act, it has to come. And if you watch Nocturnal Admissions, the special on Netflix now, the closer is a story of me and my son playing basketball. And he actually, he challenged me. He said some words that I can't say here. But when it was done, I just go, oh, my God, this is a piece. Like I knew in that moment something had happened where I go, this is going in the act and this wrote itself. And then you just go on stage that night, do it, and you're like, yep, I was right. I've been doing this long enough. I knew.
You got to give us something that you wrote about Tom Brady.
No, it was actually him. It was roast jokes for him.
So you wrote for him.
Right, so he would say like, oh, the dais would have, let's say, like Peyton Manning, or the dais would have, so you would just, like any sports figure that would be on there, you would just write something. And it would just be either about their stats or their lack of, personality or looks or, the amount of women they dated. And you would just, and some would be like even they'd laugh and go, this is great, but I can't say, guy will kill me if I said this.
Right, I know. Roast jokes are weird.
Because roast jokes used to be, when you watch the old ones, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and you would see like with Sinatra and Don Rickles, it was kind of like friendly goof. Now they're going for like, they're talking about like dead family members. I'm Sicilian, so you talk about I'll just jump on the days and kill everybody. I'll kill everybody. Here's the thing: if I do, listen, I'm not even trying to be funny here. I'm Sicilian and Greek, and I'm prideful, and I am a little spiteful. If I'm up there and I'm doing a roast, you say something about my family, the roast is over. The roast is over, and that's when cops are going to get involved, and I'm going to get an assault charge because I'm going to jump on there and start punching people. I'm not joking around. So I'm Sicilian, so that's why I don't do roasts, because I take and I'll never forget it, and that person will never be my friend, even if they think it's a joke. It's never a joke to me.
Whoa.
I hold a grudge, guys. I hold a grudge.
Oh, we hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of your colleagues already told me that, since yesterday was the day that the new Netflix special premiered, that you already have enough for another special.
Yeah, I always get afraid to say, oh, I have a whole new ready, that's a whole hour that's ready right now. But yeah, I don't want people to come out and say, oh, I just saw a special, I loved it, and he did the exact same, and I'm always working on new stuff, trying to get rid of what I did in the special, adding stuff. Here's the weird thing, though. Some of the jokes in the special, I've added so much that I'm like, man, I wish I did, because that's what happens. You do a special, and then something evolves with a joke you did that's already out, and you're like, oh, I wish I could. But then I'll make the piece that I added its own thing. So it's kind of like branches off of each other, and that's what I'm doing now. But I don't want people to hear the same stuff. I don't not want somebody leaving going, it was funny, but I heard it last week on Netflix. That's not what I'm trying to do.
You're tough on yourself.
Yeah, you are.
I am. It's funny. People were saying, are you enjoying this? And I enjoy it. Listen, I enjoyed it. I thought to myself, I worked so hard, and I got here, I got this platform, it's amazing. But now it's like, you can't be happy here. You can't be happy, because if I'm happy here and this is it, then what am I then what am I going to just start packing? How am I going to go work for UPS? What am I going to do? So I'm like, by the way, no offense to any UPS drivers. I mean, my stepfather worked for UPS, it's a great company.
Well, not to mention the fact that the UPS drivers, without any question, have better benefits than you have.
Oh, I got none.
And they got good bodies, too, because they're always moving.
You know what? I used to fantasize about having a normal job like that.
But you're a freelance comedian.
Yeah.
You got no benefits.
I got no benefits, so no.
There's no paid vacation or medical and hospitalization and pension plan for you.
Yeah. No, but when people say things, no, there's not. My wife is like, I'm like, even though things are going well, keep the job. You know what I mean? My back is starting to hurt. Keep the job. One of my eyes is going and my back hurts, so we need those bennies. But no, I'm trying to enjoy it, but with it is just, I got here because I was always doing the work. So now that I have this, it's like the work has to continue to keep going, and that's just what it is.
Well, you had your first comedy album. The very first one. That was 2015.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And that went to #1 on iTunes.
Yep.
#4 on the Billboard Top 100.
That's right.
So right out of the box, you were, on your way. And you built up this great fan base. And having your second hour-long special now on Netflix, this is a big deal.
It is.
I hope you get a few minutes to sit back and be happy.
Yes. No. I definitely.
And celebrate. Did you celebrate the Netflix debut?
Yeah, we did. We went out to dinner and we had a couple of drinks and we kind of reflected on everything, and I definitely did. I made sure that I said, you know what, look, man, let's not enjoy this because, I'll be honest with you. If I'm being completely honest, I was driving to the airport yesterday, and on the way to the airport, I started thinking about my whole career. And I started thinking about horrible gigs, and I started thinking about standing on soda crates in bars in Jersey while people are eating and looking at a TV, and I'm yelling over them to try to have them hear a punchline. And I did a set in somebody's living room. I had adults sitting Indian style in a living room, and I'm standing in front of a TV with an empty Corona bottle as a microphone, and they gave me $200, and I thought I was in show business, and then I started thinking about where I was, and it hit me, and I made sure that I enjoyed a little bit of it yesterday, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
Rodney Dangerfield is no longer with us.
I love Rodney.
But is Eddie Murphy aware of the fact that he inspired your very successful career? Does he know that?
You ask the best questions and you hit all the things that it's amazing. I want Eddie Murphy to see this. I swear to God, I'm not even joking. I'm like somewhere Eddie Murphy if Eddie Murphy walked in here and said, I think you're funny, I would that means the world, because that's what I was a 10-year-old kid when my dad took me to see that, and it was forbidden. Mother, grandmother, you're not taking him to that. You can't take him to that. He's like, I'm not going to take him to that. Just front and center. We're in the movies in Yonkers. He didn't care, and I was locked in. So that's a dream of mine. So if Eddie, and through people, I know someone that knows him, like, hey, man, send this clip to Eddie. But that would be amazing. So, and you know that. So as soon as you said that, it popped up.
All right. Well, let us know when you're going to be performing in our area again. So we can pass the word on.
Yes. No, I appreciate it, man.
And on Netflix.
Yeah.
You got Netflix.
I sure do.
Something for you to do this weekend. Paul Virzi, Nocturnal Admissions. You have to be very careful how you say that.
I know. People always ask. Yeah. You got to say
Right.
admissions. And
yes. Nocturnal Admissions.
And thank my wife. The divorce threat did it.
Okay. Thank you so much for visiting with us.
Thank you,
morning.
Thank you guys for having
Here
me.
at
Appreciate it.
Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.